I first got the HX Stomp, I was really only thinking of how I could make it work in place of my pedal board, which I did. But I'm also realizing that I could have looked at this as a standalone cab sim, similar to the number of devices that are on the market to fit that role today. Let's break down the features of the HX Stomp that I feel add value to it as a standalone cab sim. It has stereo ins and stereo outs. Surprisingly, a lot of cab sims don't process stereo signals. Additionally, the ins and outs can be configured separately for instrument or line level. You can use this at the end of a pedal board at instrument level, or you could use it after a guitar preamp at line level without distorting the input. The cab block gives you a selection of built-in cabinet simulations as well as microphone choices. The dual cab block doubles the cab block choices and lets you choose 2 cabs and microphones that are spread out in stereo. If the built-in cab sims aren't your thing, custom and off-the-shelf impulse responses can also be loaded. There are a ton of EQ types you can make use of. Delay can be used to create a stereo spread. Of course, any of the effects in the HX Stomp can be used. Those are just the ones that are most interesting to me. A common feature in a lot of cab sim devices is a through output, normally used to send the preamp signal out to a guitar, power amp, and speaker that you can have on stage. The HX Stomp gives you 2 mono or 1 stereo aux output. The biggest power behind these is that you can place them anywhere in the internal signal routing, so it's extremely flexible the number of ways you can use these outputs. The stereo returns are a feature I find very little to compare to in other devices. I'm not even sure myself how a person might want to use these, but they also come with the same power that the sends have of being able to be placed anywhere in the internal signal routing. All of the sends and returns can be configured as either instrument or line level. The returns also have a mode to use them as unprocessed auxiliary ends. MIDI in gives you the possibility for changing presets or even using an expression pedal to do something like volume boosts for solos. If you wanted to, you could use an effects block as a kind of post-processing effect for long delays or reverbs and recall them the same way you would any other MIDI-controlled device. And finally, you have the option to use headphones too. Take all that together and you have one seriously powerful and flexible cab sim unit. Here's the most basic kind of cab sim. There's a guitar, a preamp, the HX Stomp, with a cab block loaded to the mixing board and out to the front of house. Note that in most of these samples, there will be a touch of reverb added by the mixer. The cab sim I've chosen to work with is the 1x12 Cali EXT, which is based on the EVM12L speaker, my personal favorite, and I have 5 real cabs loaded with this same speaker. I adjusted the default mic and added a low and high cut. Here it is in mono. Keep in mind that this is just a starting point. With the HX Stomp working as a cab sim, the next thing I might want to consider is a through output to a guitar amp on stage. I just place a send left block and send the output of that to the FX return of a combo amp. If you do this, be sure that the send level is all the way down at first and then bring it up slowly. Depending on the relationship of your amp's master volume with its FX return, the send level here could actually be acting as your amp's master volume, so you want to be cautious. I do like to emphasize the mids a bit in the mix, so I've added a 10-band graphic EQ for some minor adjustment. So far, it's been all in mono, but I do have several ways to create a stereo spread. Stereo is created when the 2 sides carry different signals. You can use different amps, different speakers, different mics to get that stereo spread. The first way I'm going to demonstrate is using a delay. With this, both sides carry the same information, but one side is slightly delayed, creating the difference necessary. The longer the delay time, the wider the stereo spread is. Here's the stereo delay block performing a 16 millisecond spread. Some delays don't have much built-in control over the stereo field, but you can still use any delay block if you place the delay on path B and pan the two signals left and right at the mixing block. This is the simple delay, which I think gives a warmer sound compared to the stereo delay block. To demonstrate further, I'll use the Elephant Man delay, which has a chorus effect and a darker sound. Now I'll turn off all the reverb I have at the mixer and use the HX Stomp's own Hall reverb effect. Now going back to the cab choice, I have the option to use a dual cab block for creating the stereo spread. This is where the stereo field is not created with delay, but rather the information on each channel is different from a frequency standpoint. The greater the difference between the cab and the mic choices between the two, the wider the stereo spread will become. Here I added the 1x12 lead 80 cab to the right side to complement the 1x12 Cali EXT that I was using. I actually have a real-world boogie cab with both of these speakers, which is why I decided to use them. This doesn't result in a very wide stereo spread, but I'll compare it to the sound of the mono cab sample, so the difference will be more apparent. I'm going to add my EQ preference as I did before, but this time I want to be sure to choose the stereo version of the EQ block. Even though I have a stereo spread created by the dual cab block, I can still make the stereo field wider with a delay as I did when I was using the single cab block. This is going to be the final example in the video. If the stock cab blocks aren't enough for you, treat the HX Stomp as an IR loader and create your own IRs or download custom cab responses from the hundreds or thousands available on the internet. Thank you for watching.